Welcome to the Explainer. We're going to jump right in with a huge question. What if the most fundamental thing you know, the solid world all around you, what if it's not actually fundamental? Today, we're diving into this incredible scientific idea that says your consciousness isn't just in the universe, it might be the thing that's creating it.
So let's start with this. Is the physical world actually real? Go ahead, look around you. Look at your hand. It feels pretty real, right? Solid. But what if all of that feeling of realness is just an illusion?
Or, to put it another way, what if it's all just a very convincing user interface? Yeah, think about it like this. Everything you see, touch, and experience, space, time, all of it, is just like icons on a desktop. It's an interface that's hiding a much deeper, more complex reality. And this isn't some sci-fi movie plot. This is a serious idea that's driving two really groundbreaking scientific theories.
Okay, so we're talking about this consciousness-first idea. It's about completely flipping the script on how we think about reality. So how do we even get there? Well, it all starts by taking one of our most fundamental assumptions and just turning it completely upside down.
So here's the standard story we've all been told, right? The Big Bang happens, you get this massive physical universe, and then, billions of years later, consciousness just kind of pops into existence in complex brains. But this radical new view, it flips that completely. It says consciousness was always the fundamental building block. The physical world, space, time, all of it, that's what emerges from consciousness, not the other way around.
The technical term for this is consciousness-first monism. Now, monism is just a fancy word that means deep down reality is made of only one kind of stuff. And these theories are proposing that that one stuff isn't matter or energy, it's consciousness itself. And what's so wild is that this isn't just a philosophical debate anymore. Scientists are actually trying to prove this with hard math.
All right, so now we have these two blueprints for reality. But this brings up a massive problem, right? If our entire physical world is just an interface, how in the world do you study what's behind it? How can you scientifically measure something that's by definition hidden from your senses? Well, here's a great way to think about it. Imagine that fundamental consciousness is this huge, magnificent castle. But here's the catch. You can't see the castle directly. The only thing you can see is its reflection in a pool of water. And that shimmering, maybe a little distorted reflection, that's our physical reality. That's the universe we perceive.
So you've got these two different theories, and they're like two separate teams of scientists trying to figure out what that castle looks like, just by studying its reflection. The first team, TGD, that's short for topological geometrodynamics, a mouthful I know, they're studying the geometry of the reflection. They're looking at the static shapes to map out the castle's structure. Then you've got the second team using conscious agent theory, or CAT. They're focused on the ripples in the water. They're studying the cause and effect, the dynamics, to figure out what's going on inside the castle. The key thing is both teams agree the castle is real. They're just using different clues to piece it all together.
And this is where things get really, really interesting. Because even though these two teams are using totally different methods, one's looking at shapes, the other's looking at ripples, they have both come to the same absolutely mind-blowing conclusion. Space-time isn't fundamental.
You heard that right. Both theories, coming from completely different directions, are saying that space-time is not the bedrock of reality. TGD says it's an emergent 4D surface, kind of like the surface of that pool of water, and CAT says it's basically a data structure, an interface. This has some crazy implications. It means your physical body, that's not the real you. It's more like an avatar, or just the tip of the iceberg of your true self. And get this, even cause and effect, the foundation of all science, is described as a useful fiction, something that just works inside the interface.
Okay, so saying space-time isn't fundamental, that is a huge claim. And you know the saying in science, extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof. So the ultimate test, the real challenge for these theories is this. Can you actually build our physics from a world made of mind? Can you start with just consciousness and end up with Einstein?
And believe it or not, that is exactly what they're trying to do. It's basically a three-step recipe. First, you have to mathematically define what a conscious agent is. Then you model what happens when you get a giant network of these agents all interacting with each other. And then, here's the final, incredible step. You have to show that the structure of that network actually is space-time, and that the way those agents interact follows the laws of physics as we know them.
And this is the kicker. It's not just a what-if anymore. This is actually happening. Researchers working on conscious agent theory, using this new kind of math called trace logic, have already had a huge breakthrough. They created a simulation of these conscious agents, and what emerged from their interactions? Einstein's theory of special relativity. I'm talking time dilation, the whole shebang. They are literally pulling the laws of our physical universe out of a simulation of consciousness.
So after all this physics and all this math, where does that leave us? Well, it brings us to a really personal question. Because if any of this is right, if the world really is an interface, it totally changes the answer to the biggest question of all. So what are you?
Let's just try to wrap our heads around this for a second. The idea is that both of these theories are working to show that our physical reality, the space-time Einstein described, is really just a projection. It's like a headset, a super high-res, totally convincing virtual reality that's being generated by this deeper reality of conscious agents.
So that leaves us with one final thought, one big question to chew on. If the world you're in right now is the interface, and your body is just the avatar, what does that make you? Who or what is actually playing the game?